Perhaps the most interesting thing that I took from this review was the finding that notifications to either engage in habits or to not engage in habits actually were not very effective over time. They were effective in the immediate period when people started using these notifications, as were little sticky notes like don't go into the refrigerator between the hours of whatever and whatever, or just visual reminders, physical reminders or electronic reminders were effective in the immediate term, but in the long term did not predict whether or not people would effectively stick to habits they were trying to stick to or break habits that they were trying to break. So sadly, that doesn't seem to work very well. And perhaps they just need to come up with more robust reminders. I don't know, mild electric shock or something like that. Because what we do know, only sort of kidding about mild electric shock, but what we do know from both human and animal studies is that things like electric shock, things like monetary penalties, right, having to pay out every time you engage in a particular behavior, those are pretty effective ways to break habits. The problem is when people are not being monitored for habit use. For instance, you can imagine a situation where you say, I'm not going to pick up my phone for the 4 hours in the early part of the day so that I can get real dedicated focused work done. Unless someone's monitoring them, then people don't tend to monitor themselves completely enough that they punish themselves completely enough that they break the behavior. In other words, the punishment isn't bad enough in order to break the habit, which just speaks to how powerful these habits are once they become reflexive. They're just very, very hard to override.